No, never mind my title. I don't have a title.
Here we go.
Every time I come here, well prepared. Good morning. I think I'm prepared, which I'm not, because I haven't prepared any slides or any videos. And I was here 2 years ago at the first Monetary Reform Conference in 2005. I'm sorry I have to read because I can't remember my own text, so I'm not a good speaker. And I don't read very well either, but I think you will understand me. Now, one of the speakers, Professor Nick Tiedemann, he's not here now, no?
He'll be here tomorrow.
Oh, I should have saved this for tomorrow. He explained the logic of brick money, replacing the gold standard with a pile of bricks. Now, this one appealed particularly to me, having been a bricklayer in my youth. But unless he had a very special, subtle sense of humor, I don't think that his bright idea was a solution or is a solution for monetary reform. Maybe money is better off being expressed in water. Why not? How's that for a new idea? Another crazy idea. You know, economists are a bit weird, right? Now, what about liquid money? Money can flow and interest rates can be floating. It may run through your fingers like water. You can spend it like water. It can be frozen or it can go down the drain. It can evaporate. Think of an ocean of money offshore, or is it more like air? Steve says created out of the thin air. Now, money is often synonymous to ugliness, to be stingy, to be penny pinching. Is greed a virtue? I hate these instruments. Worse is when money becomes debt. Schuld in German also means sin. Huh? There's a German here. Huh? Ja. Schuld. Haben Sie Schuld? Oder was? Living in luxury. Lust is another of the 7 sins. Luxury is to have time to think and to do what you like. So your money may buy you some time. Money is time rather than time is money. Now, this is a common misunderstanding that time is money. No, it's not. It's the opposite. How's that for a new theory? It pleased me what the last speaker, Brian, what's your name? Blaine, excuse me, said. So, but how can we convert money into beauty? The trick is to change money into something of lasting value. When money is used for acquisition of art and expression of creation, it becomes noble. Beauty and expressing Geist or gist or spirit. Real human value, as my teacher Joseph Beuys said, Geld ist nicht Kapital. I called my book, Money is Not Capital, stealing his words. He died years ago, but I hope he would have liked the idea. Copying is the sincerest form of flattery. Now, I invited another guy here to come, but he wasn't really invited, but I'll go and get him, okay? Do you recognize me? No,
It's over here. It's over here. There you go.
Can't see very well with
Oh,
this.
you do.
Good morning. My subject today is that war is good for the economy. Creation creates wealth. Destruction creates wealth. And this is what we want is money in circulation, right? And when we have wars, it creates money in circulation. Money is the purpose that drives us, right? This is the ultimate incentive.
Try this.
Do I need this one instead?
You can put it closer to your face.
I'm so used to public speaking. You understand? President of the most monetary.
That doesn't work either.
No, never mind. Because of my mask. Look, let me take this off. It's just a joke anyway. Now, I didn't invite this son of a bitch, but you know.
You were telling us about war, destruction.
Yes. Now, destruction. When you start breaking down things, you have to build them up again, right? That creates employment. We want full employment, no? And before I came here, what I prepared, my speech was supposed to be called "War is the most absurd cure for a sick capitalism." And the other guy said instead of me, so destruction is good, in spite of being bad for the individual, since it creates general activity. You can see this clearly after every war. In Germany and in Japan, after the Great Destruction, there is no Great Depression. We have an affluent society, and isn't that what we want? Furthermore, when savings, we don't need loans. The credit syndrome is diminishing, and the emission of fiat money becomes adversely, so the lending institutions are losing business. So war is the ultimate answer to wealth. Ask Dr. Schacht, Hitler's financial advisor who saved Germany from the tremendous unemployment situation. The same was expressed by Wall Street since the beginning of the first Iraq War. Do you remember The Mouse That Roared?
The movie, yes.
Huh? Yes, with Peter Sellers. A duchy called the Grand Fenwick had decided that in order to escape bankruptcy, they declared war on the United States so they could lose and accept foreign aid, like the Marshall Plan. But unfortunately, they won the war. In the plot of this farce and what to do next, now maybe the United States will get aid from Saudi Arabia and become wealthy after Iraq. No? That was that for another idea. The American economy is also based on the control of other countries' resources. A war spurs the economy. It creates employment and profits for certain industries. The national deficit pays for the feast. But where does the state get the money? 1.5 billion per week, or now maybe it's up to 2 billion per week, since I got my numbers, of the extra latest troops sent to Iraq through loans, and the result is now also that the dollar is worth $1.41 to the euro. It's a de facto devaluation of over 20% in the past 7 years. Now, if you consider 20% of all the wealth in the United States, of all the money in the United States, that's a lot of money to throw out the window by some stupid decision. Now, why do we always have wars? Now, this is the essential question, in fact, that I cannot answer, and I've been thinking about it. I tried to get some documentation to something to write on a panel and say, this is reason number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But you can't find that anywhere. You can guess about it. Many argue that always have been wars, so we will always have them, as if it was inevitably what has been must be repeated, which I don't agree with. Maybe we can find one of the reasons for war is that it externalizes internal problems. When in the old days the king was about to lose his power and his people's admiration and glory, he declared war on an external enemy in order to boost the national sentiment for unity. He even collected money from the people to fill the war chest and unite the nation against the common enemy. I think it's the same thing they're doing now, because when you can't handle the economy, you create an artificial problem with an fictitious enemy, which unfortunately exists. Anyway, it's frightening to think about some of these basic principles of our economy and our children's future. Just ask the victims who endure our system and who doesn't understand why they have to continue to suffer in silence for many years to come. Now, it may seem impossible for you to try to change our basic system, but I'm thinking about a couple of people. The first person I am thinking about when I'm hear people being here with goodwill, and I'm sure everybody is still asking themselves the question, am I really capable? It's interesting to come here and talk about it, because it releases our sentiments and we feel good about it or we feel less bad about it. But can we really do anything? Does anybody here believe that we can really do something? Does Steve believe that he's going to change the United States or part of it, or people, lawmakers in Washington? I mean, it's quite absurd. No, one person, what can he do? Without substantial capital, one. You run for president in this country, you need a lot of money. You don't have to be intelligent, but you need a lot of money to back you up. Now, does this man have any money? No, not that I know of. So, or violence, that's the second possibility for getting into power, is killing a lot of people and taking over by power, by arms. So what am I trying to do? Am I a naive optimist or half crazy? What are we? Now there is one example in history of a person who changed his world in a country where the economic problem is 12 times bigger than in the United States. You never had a problem which is anywhere close to what he changed. Since that country is 3 times smaller in area than the United States, you have a hard time hearing what I say? But it has 4 times more people. So I say 3 times 4 is 12, so it's 12 times bigger, the economic problem, than in the United States. And one man caused a dramatic change without any money, without violence, or democratic vote, or referendum, or what you call it, only by his speech. Now, who was that? And which country was this? Of course. Now, today, you will see his face. On that country's, I wanted to show this, but you can't project it. Now, difficult to project money here, right? Now, Mahatma Gandhi, whom everybody knows, his picture is now on the money in one of the fastest developing countries in the world. One person can do something. If his will is strong enough, he was a lawyer, I'm afraid to say, but this is not the reason. Now, I have recently come across, unfortunately not met, another person who is sort of a new Gandhi, I wonder how many of you have heard about, somebody in the money business. Well, he's not trying to look like Christ, but he actually has his arm out in the... You know who this man is? His name is Muhammad Yunus. Huh? Who knows Muhammad Yunus? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so the speech is directed for those of you who have not heard about him. Now, he's founder of a bank called the Grameen Bank. He's from Bangladesh. Grameen in Bangladesh means the village. It's the village bank. There's one bank in each village, in practically every village in Bangladesh, and it belongs to the people. It's run by a woman. It only lends money to women because Mr. Yunus believes that if you give money to a man from that part of the world, he will go out and drink and spend it with his friends, and there won't be any left a week later. He lends very small amounts of money. It's called microcredit. Now, it may seem absurd to you to lend $5, $10, $20. He actually started by lending $20 of his personal money. He has a PhD in economy from an American university, so some university people do some good for the world. But he's not a theoretician. It's not one of the talkers. It's not one of the ones who write thick books about it. He went out and he did it. He now has banks all over the country. He has $5 billion in assets. He has succeeded in what he's doing with the microcredit. He lends money even to beggars. There were 85,000 beggars in Bangladesh 3 years ago. Today there are 35,000 beggars less. We're no longer in the street because you lent them money to start some activity because it costs money to make money. Very small amounts because these countries are very poor. He has 7 million clients, 6 billion in assets, not 5, 6. The bank is owned by the clients and the loan repayment rate is 99%. Yeah, it's not a losing business. His interest is minimal. It varies, but it's a very few percent per year that he's charging. The average loan is $12, which is practically interest-free. It permits the women to buy material to start manufacturing items or to seed plants for agro products. He goes as far as lending money to beggars. I already said that. In this country, there were 85,000 beggars, and now 35,000 has stopped begging. The bank has provided credits for building 640,000 houses, and there are 30,000 students on loan. And it's going on every month. This idea today has caught on in many countries. He received the Nobel Prize last year. Now it's 2 years ago. And I incite you to look up the Nobel Prize site on the internet and listen to his speech during the ceremony in Oslo where he talks about globalization in lieu of financial imperialism, how to take profit out of a company, how the company should be run like a social business, not a non-loss business. He didn't receive the Nobel Prize in Economy, but the Peace Prize. As the committee rightfully claimed, poverty is the main reason for wars. He calls the poor the bonsai people since they didn't get the right base to grow well, but with a feed from his bank, they will grow to a normal-sized tree and become beautiful and carry fruit. That's his philosophy. There's another person I like, is J.K. Galbraith. How many of you have read the book he wrote just before he died?
What's the name of the book?
The Economics of Innocent Fraud.
Innocent Fraud.
Yes. Now, when a year ago, how much time do I have? Last year, 2 years ago, I ran out of time and I didn't get to say hardly anything. Now, I feel a little more confident.
It's at 11:15 and it's 10:50. But that was
Okay.
a good question.
Economics is a boring subject for most people and will never become a popular science, if you can call it a science at all. I met a young man from New York in Kochi, South India last year. There was an article about him in the local newspaper, The Hindu, who stated that he was writing about economy and not economics, but in form of a cartoon. He didn't have the drawings then, and I'm looking forward to see it once it's published. He was trying to make the normal person understand what his everyday life is based on. Everyone lives with it, complains about it, votes for it, but understands very little about it. Economics is a self-installed phenomenon for which nobody is responsible, which has come to power over the years and dictates the economy which everybody is trying to make the best of for their own use. You can study the subject matter in the university, and this science is studied by people who are good at mathematics but rarely have any practical sense, and certainly no experience since they were so far only students. The brightest of them are inventing new econometric models which will prove obsolete shortly after being put in application. Some of these theories are extremely dangerous, particularly when certain geniuses like Marx and Engels' economic theories are put into practice. Or when in the financial world, these are the ones I know, Black and Scholes theories are used in money management. Scholes, also a Nobel Prize taker in 1997, a method to determine the value of derivatives. His theories managed to bankrupt and incur huge losses in the biggest hedge fund in history. Galbraith goes into as far as calling the economy an innocent fraud. Now, how can innocence be fraudulent? Before going into the consequences of economic fraud, we must start by defining innocent and determine if such can be considered guilty. Saying that someone who does not know cannot be responsible would somehow be too easy. And since none of us knows, ergo, we're all innocent. When you participate in a mass event, like a political movement, an economic society, or a war, the individual participant cannot be responsible for the consequences. Or can he? When you have a democratically elected leaders like Hitler, the majority of the Germans were responsible, but were they innocent? When you consume goods produced by society in quantities and thereby contributing to the exhaustion of the world's resources, are you guilty? When you go to war to defend the interest of your country, are you guilty or just an innocent hero? Today the hero is the consumer who makes the economy work. Without him, the whole system would collapse. I'm a bad citizen because I never buy anything, so evil. The citizen who doesn't vote is considered of not being politically correct and therefore an antisocial being, like someone who consumes a minimum and who doesn't conform to the norms of society by showing the accepted status symbol, and therefore is not the sort of person you can associate with. Now, if you saw my car, you would know what I mean. Getting back to the original question, which we might rather define as a legal, deliberately fraudulent economy, since it is merely defrauding the innocent, accepted but not acceptable. It is ripping off society by using a system which has found its own path into society's modus vivendi economicus, benefiting the few, if anybody, and harmful to all, for which nobody can be held responsible. So we can all plead not guilty. We have a wrong concept at the basis of a wrong society with harmful goals, doubtful ethics, resulting in physical and mental problems, poverty, illnesses, hunger, unemployment, crime, hatred, jealousy, drug addiction, alcohol and tobacco abuse, car speed, mania causing accident, death, invalidity, obesity, sexual frustration, destruction of nature, exhaustion of natural resources, the list is long. We may find the roots of all these problems in the erroneous economic model we're using. Money is a holy concept, as it's printed in a certain country where the money is the ultimate goal. In God we trust. Right? It is probably the best promoted concept in history, the most appreciated of all material things in the world. Many are ready to kill, rob, steal, risk spending the rest of their lives behind the bars and being sentenced to death. It can be used to bribe politicians and bureaucrats, to free hostages, and to justify wars. People will do just anything to get the magic and most powerful of all, money. This concept may be our prime object of investigation, and to which we must devote a maximum of effort in order to make humanity understand that this might be the root of all evil. No, I'm going too far now, excuse me for that. Let's try to analyze why it's so difficult to change the system. First of all, who does the system benefit? The people in power, at least until the moment comes when they couldn't handle the economy any longer. Secondly, the rich who think that their money brings them happiness until they realize that they're worse off than the average member in society. The financial institutions and the millions of people to work in the markets, in brokerage firms, in insurance companies, in banks, advisors, accountants, economists, journalists, in short, everybody who has to do with money, would be out of business if all this magic phenomena did not exist. So they do their utmost, not having anybody interfering with their primary merchandise, the money. It's always a risk to change something if you know what you have and you don't know what you get. It also has a cost, and the more important, the more extensive the change is, the costlier it will be to make it. Is it worthwhile to create a new monetary revolution? Again, do not forget Karl Marx, who caused radical changes of the system in a number of countries, and look at the result, a catastrophe. There's little chance of getting rid of poverty if the present economic system is not changed. How do we cope with fraud when everybody, participating. Everybody is participating, and the only saint is the one who didn't get caught yet. Humanity is a strange animal, perverted to the bone by the magic power of money. Prostitutes, pimps, politicians, dictators, gamblers, all addicted to this poisonous substance. I just read a story by V.S. Naipaul about an Indian who sold his 7-year-old daughter for 5,000 rupees to marry another child. She didn't suffer much since her husband was as innocent as she. But how can parents consider money in compensation for their children's future? I know that it's based on tradition in certain society, but it proves that even on this primitive level, money is the corrupting factor and the only known medicine in a sick society. So how can we convince an African, an Indian, or a Chinese that money is not what we need most, what he needs most? It may be relatively simple to convince a Scandinavian that money doesn't give you happiness. Most of them know this already. But it is not this part of the world which needs the urgent change of mentality and a new monetary system. Even so, since the lure of riches are still attracting many, like myself, to flee the boredom of a society without the magic motivation of becoming rich. That's why I left my country. What else makes you get up in the morning and makes you competitive in a workplace? Money. We're not going to change this overnight, even in my lifetime, but it doesn't mean that we should not think about it and start preparing for the future of our children and the earth. We are not allowed to innocently await the deterioration and destruction which is well on its way. Maybe it is not too late to save humanity and its planet. Maybe we shouldn't accuse anyone of exploiting a perverse economic system which is legal and has been used for centuries by everybody. Let's work on our consciousness and understanding towards a more enlightened society where the money becomes less important, where money is reduced to its appropriate place, to an abstract medium of exchange instead of being an idol and a finality in itself. Let's try a new model, less fragile and not based on gambling, like the one presently in use all over the world, so that the next iconoclast Nobel Prize taker will be able to call his essay "The Economics of Not Defrauding the Innocent." Okay, this was the first part. Now, do I have more time? Huh? Yeah. Thank you.